happy Thursday, folks. It is Sharla K coming live to you with another Forever Friends Academy episode. How you guys doing? Happy to be with you as always. Hopefully you guys are having a good week. It was beautiful weather where I live. I absolutely love it. It was so gorgeous today. It was absolutely gorgeous. So hopefully you enjoyed some good weather where you are. And as always, good to be on with you guys tonight. Let me introduce myself just in case there are some newcomers, which I would absolutely love. My name is Sharla Kornegay. I am an author, recording artist, creator of Interact Coaching, and Forever Friends Academy, which is my show, where we talk about all relationship topics. And my main goal is to help people to love to their fullest capacity and to develop relationships that last a lifetime. So what I present here is fundamental principles that you can ground, establish, anchor your relationships in, so that when the tests of time and change come, which they will, right? The only thing guaranteed in life is change, right? So it'll help you learn how to kind of navigate those waters together. And I am a singer and songwriter as well. If you want to check out any of my music, you can Google me or go to your favorite music platform of choice. And that's Sharla with an S, K. And definitely check out the music. Hopefully you enjoy it. Oh my goodness, my beautiful sis, Mayo Babaya. How are you, love? How are you? Thank you for popping in. All right, so we're going to get into it tonight. And I'm going to start it off with a question for you guys tonight. Did I come up with a quote tonight? I don't think so. So it's just a question tonight. And it started from a conversation that I had with an individual that my husband wanted to talk to yesterday. And so I figured I'd bring it to you guys. So the question is, give me your top five characteristics of a person you would feel you would have the privilege to marry, right? And so the conversation that I had with the individual yesterday was a young gentleman, and he was considering marrying the woman that he is with, and he wanted basically, the question that always comes up, how do you know when you're ready to get married, or how do you know if you found someone, basically in the way that he put it, is worthy to marry, and so hence I kind of rephrased it for you guys today. And so let me know top five characteristics of someone who you would feel it would be a privilege to marry. Now, I always say to my clients, marriage is a privilege. It's not a right? It's not an inherent right when we're talking about the type of marriage, that I'm talking about between a man and a woman and things like that in a very deep, intimate sense. Now, in my book, we talk about everything coming into the world through marriage, the combination of, your faith, the commandments, or whatever instruction God gives you, and sacrifice. So that's a whole nother thing, right? But as far as marriage today between a man and a woman in an intimate sense, not everybody, wants to be married. Not everyone will be married, right? Some people dedicate their whole entire life to just God, so that's not on their even a target for them. And sometimes, just people don't get married, right? So I always say it's not an inherent right. It is a privilege, and it is a choice every single day. And I do think it's not a bad thing to call it a privilege, because sometimes when I say that, people think like, oh, you're making it, when you say that, it's going to make someone who's not married feel like, I don't lesser than, and I'm not saying it in that way, but I think you do want to look at it as a privilege, because if you don't, then it's very easy to take for granted the person that you have now partnered up in life. And it's very easy to take for granted the truthfulness and the principle that two is better than one, like not just in a romantic sense, but in a friendship sense, in a familial sense. And just there is strength in numbers. And when we can have those people become united, the fact is that the greater gains can be made with those two people combining rather than if they were individually alone. So that is a privilege, folks. That's not, so just wanted to explain that for a second. But let me know. I love Maya's answer. She is so funny. She's what is she still considered a newlywed? I guess they are. They haven't made a year yet, so yeah, she's newly married. So I asked her the 5 characteristics, the 5 characteristics of someone who you'd have the privilege to marry, and she just married, and she said, "God gave him to me." I love it. Talking about her husband. Oh, I love it. See that? That's all right. So, for the rest of you, though, who might be thinking about it, again, let me know your thoughts. I'm going to put the link because I'm always happy that if you want to call in and you don't want to type, that I have that link for you. So I'm going to do 2 things before we get into it, and I tell you my 5. If we get to all 5 of them tonight. Let me put the link in for anyone who might not feel like typing and say, you know what, I'm going to get on tonight and actually talk to Sharla screen to screen. So let me do that. And then I'll also put the QR code for those who might just want to scan. All right, folks. Let's do that. Ba, ba, ba. So I put the link there for anyone who might want to join that way. And then let me put the QR code up for you guys as well, just in case you want to do that. I love Maya's answer. She said he gave him to me, okay? Talking about her husband. I love that. Let me put up the code. So you see it right there. Scan your lovely phone, okay? And then you can come on and talk to me. You can come on and talk to me. Talk to me, folks. All right. All right, and we're back. All right, so let's get into it. The 5 that I thought of. All right, so number 1, numero uno, for me is 1, someone who loves God more than they love you. And they seek God's guidance on how to love you. Someone who loves God more than they love you. And they seek God's guidance on how to love you. I always say to my clients that no matter how much you think you know your partner, I don't care how many times you've been with them. I've known my husband since I was a teenager. So you're talking about 27 years of forever friendship, right? And I've seen him go through many different stages. There's core elements of him as far as the rooted principles of God that he believes in. He'll stand 10 toes down and he will stand on that truth till the day he dies. Now, as we've grown through life and go into, manhood, becoming a husband, becoming a father, I saw different ways that he navigated certain things, and there are different aspects of his personalities that came out through that, right? So no matter how long I have been familiar with him, when we go through life transitions and life change, as we were talking about on my last live with you guys, that growth is the process of losing yourself and rediscovering, right? A more in-depth, well-rounded, more clarified, version of who you are. That literally is a fact. It's going to happen, right? So in me knowing that no matter how long or how familiar I am with him, I know that I have to seek God, because whatever new things that are aspects of his nature and his character that is being brought out, I need to consult God to figure out how do I right, like, navigate it. How do I now experience him in the best way in this new, more in-depth version of him. And so that's number one for me. I think you need someone who loves God more than they love you, and I also say that because I always tell people that no matter how much you think, oh, it'd be so great if I was someone's everything, you know, we're just not built to carry that much weight. Only God holds that space in the human heart, because if anybody else tries to be that, they will break under the weight of it all. That's why we have communities and villages. And, you hear the statements like it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a community and a village to help people who are also growing in marriage, because it's too much for the one individual. So those are some reasons why that is my number one. I'm going to take some time to read Maya's because she took her lovely time to write out hers. So number one, she says, principled demonstrative. Okay, so that person, she has a privilege to marriage, is demonstrating the principles that they believe in. Disciplined, passionate, creative. Love it. Discerning, complete reliance on God. So those are her five. And I believe she said in this specific order. So again, demonstrate, you know what, before I read it, it'll probably be better if you guys all can see it, right? It probably would be. Let me see. I'm going to put it to the broadcast so it's easy for you guys to see what she wrote. That way I don't have to mess it up, with me trying to read them over. Or at least if I'm reading them over and you can see it, it's a little bit, better understood. But I love those. So let me read again. But it's up there for you guys to all see. But she said, one, principled, demonstrative, disciplined, passionate, creative, discerning, complete reliance on God. Very nice. I like all those. I like it. Very nice. All right, let me put that back so that it's not up there. I love those, Maya. Very nice. Thank you for taking out the time to, write those for me. I appreciate it. All right. So that's my number one. Okay. Someone who loves God more than they love you and seeks God guidance to love you, the most optimal way to love you. Number two is someone who she's making me laugh. She put at 6 feet tall. I guess she added like an addendum. I didn't know. Nikel is 6 feet. Really? I didn't know her husband was 6 feet tall. I guess he is pretty tall. She was like, let me put a preference in there, okay? I didn't put all this deep stuff, but let me add the extra. Extra sauce on it. All right. I appreciate that. All right. Number two is someone who has your well-being, your overall well-being in mind, detached from how they desire for you to show up in their life. Yeah, you're making me laugh, Maya. All right, so number two is someone who has your overall well-being, best interest in mind, detached from their desire of how they want you to show up in their life. This is a doozy. This is not an easy one. This is one of the things that I told the gentleman I was talking to when he was asking me, how do I know if I found the one that, that I can marry? And I told him this is one of the things that has helped me to authentically love my husband in the best way, is because I really do care about who he is. I care about him fulfilling his purpose on earth and doing what God wants him to do. Irrefutably, like there's nothing else that's the primary importance for me, and so when I keep that at the center of my mind, it helps me to one, keep a mindset to want to be a supporter, encourage him in the things that he needs to do in God, and not allow for my desires to overtake the truth of maybe what needs to be done, and easier said than done, And so let me give you two examples for both of those things because, I don't want them to be looked at as too philosophical, So, number one, when I say, look for someone who loves God more than they love you and seek God's guidance on how to love you. A simple example of that is that I like to create things that outlive me. So my major, and main love language is if my husband helps me on like projects, like if I'm doing an album, he helps me with that. If I'm, you know, going for a certificate or a degree or something, and he does stuff around the house and makes room for me to kind of focus and hone in so I can reach my goal. Oh my goodness. There's no better aphrodisiac for me. I know I'm so corny, right? Maybe would somebody say that's nerdy? I don't know. I'm just very ambitious, right? So there's nothing that turns me on more than that, right? However, there was a season where my husband kept on buying me flowers, and we've just had in our, just casual conversation when we're talking about the things that, meet our needs or the things that we, desire or delight in the most. I told him getting flowers, it's not really like, I'm not really a romantic, like, at least in that way, right? Like to come give me flowers when you come home from work or something like that. Some people are like that, right? But I'm not. And I said, the reason why is because they die so quickly. And I have a purple thumb too. So I feel like I probably speed up that death a little bit, just, just a little bit. Right. So for all of those reasons, I told him, if you don't need to give me flowers, but, he still literally for about a year brought home flowers like almost every 2 weeks, every 2-3 weeks. He was bringing a new set of flowers, right? And so even though, my main, love language is if you create things with me, right? Things that outlast me, I'm not going to reject how he is choosing to show up and demonstrate his love towards me, right? Because it's still a beautiful, kind, generous act. So I definitely with open arms welcomed it, and he did it for like almost a year. And I remember we got invited to one of our high school classmates' wedding. They were getting married in Jamaica, which I'm born in Jamaica, right? So we went there, and I remember, being excited because my father, he fathered two sons that are younger than me, and I had met the oldest one. He lives in Canada, but I didn't meet my younger one, the youngest one, and he was still in Jamaica. And I remember like, okay, great, this is my time. I could meet him. And when we went there, anyone, you guys let me know. And where I grew up in Jamaica, I was born in Kingston, which is city, but even the area that I was born in, it's rough. Okay, like no qualms about it, right? It's rough, and so anytime we asked the Uber or taxi cab drivers, they were like, yeah, no, we're not taking you there. We have too much, respect for our life. Like if we take you there, yeah, no, I'm not dying today." Just because you want to ride, into there. And I remember, literally I was talking to my husband, and we decided, like, okay, not to go because again, we were invited to a wedding, and so we were trying to fit it in, while still, going to the wedding and doing the activities there. And so nonetheless, we didn't get it in. And then when I came back to America, I don't think it could have been no more than maybe 3 months later, my other brother, the oldest one, called me and literally, delivered the heartbreaking news that my younger brother had been killed. He had been literally shot in the head in his car. And so for me, oh my gosh, my heart just like, it crumbled. It literally broke. And I don't know why it hit me so hard, but I think it hit me hard because, my father passed away when I was young. And I guess it was just like I don't know, it just felt like a piece of my dad, leaving because it was that side of the family again that I was, going to lose someone. And the idea that I had the opportunity and I was so close and I didn't see him, and so I took it hard, to say the least. And my husband bought me some roses, and we were going somewhere, and he was coming back to the house to pick me up. He bought the roses. He set the roses in the middle of the car, and then he also took some of the rose petals off and put it in the passenger seat, right? And this is how out of it I am, right? Because I'm like really going through it, but not really seeing it. Like, has anybody been in a place like that where it's like you're kind of grieving, but it's not like you're distraught or that you can see it so much on the outside, but you're just kind of like going. And so that was the state I was in. And in so much, this is how I know this was the state I was in, because when I went into the car, first of all, I didn't realize the gesture, right? Off immediately, right? So I literally, y'all not gonna believe this, but I literally wipe the rose petals away, and I say, "Oh my goodness, some of the such a this is an unreal moment. Some of the rose petals fell off, the flower, and I'm wiping it off so I can sit down." And my husband just looked at me like, "Oh my gosh." Like, did you just wipe the rose petals off? Like, don't you know that was a romantic gesture? Like, I put the rose petals there because I see that, you're taking the loss of your younger brother really hard. And I wanted to remind you, even though, because I think me losing or hearing about him dying was kind of like a vacuum that was kind of like pulling me back into, my childhood and old kind of like mindsets. My husband saw that. So he said, I put these roses and I bought these roses for you to remind you of who you are. Like, yes, we all come from a place and we all have experiences and some good, some bad experiences that come, from our childhood or where we come from. But I needed you to remind you that you're a queen, and I love you, and the life that we've built together is this, even though this, bad thing has happened. And it just like snapped me out of it. One, because it made me realize like, oh man, I must have really been in a certain space to literally not see the gesture he was doing to wipe the petals off the seat and not see it as a romantic gesture that he was putting the rose petals so that I could sit on it, right? And then number two, when he told me the meaning behind it, it brought me back, to the light, basically, and it brought me back to the life that God, has for me. And so, right, the same thing that I said, oh, I'm not a flower person. I'm not big on that. He looked beyond that of what I was saying to give me exactly what I needed, right? And he was already doing that literally before that situation happened. So God was literally setting him up, right, for this very moment, And so that's what I mean. You want to marry someone who loves God more than they love you and will seek God on how to love you best. Because we can say all day the things, and I always say this when I talk to my clients, like about love languages and things like that. And it's great to know it, what your love language is and how how tell your partner how they best can meet your need. But honestly, as much as we even think we know ourselves, we don't know it better than God knows, right? Because there are things that are going to he has such a trajectory, right? Like God creates with the end in mind. So everything that you're going to go through he knows it all. And so that was an example of my husband loving God more than he loves me and looking beyond what I was saying to seek God's counsel on what is the best way to demonstrate God's love to me. To give me something that I'm thinking in my logical mind, I don't need it. It's going to fade. It means like, it doesn't mean anything to me, right? Because me and my principle is like, I want to make things that outlast me, like outlive me. That's what matters to me. And God's like, no, this, my daughter, she's going to need this. She's going to need this because she's not seeing the value in it. But trust me, continue to love her in this way. Continue to demonstrate your love in this way. And she will, it will meet her right where, she needs it. And then she'll understand later. And sometimes, right, that's what it is. That's what it will take for a wife to do or a husband to do, towards each other. And so that's an example of that, right? That's an example of that. Another example of the second one that I told you guys about caring about the person's well-being, detached from the desires that you have for them. And one example that I can give you guys, because it happens. Oh, and before I give you guys this example, let me welcome some people. Hey, Aranya, wow, it's been a while. I don't know if you're still in here. I hope. Continual blessings. I hope you're doing well. And Ali Socks, my beautiful heartbeat, thank you for coming in. And let me read Maya's statement that she took time to write out. She said, he said all that with petals. That is a poetic man who stands 10 toes down about his wife. Yeah, absolutely. That's 1,000%. For sure. That I can say about my husband. I appreciate it. She said, beautiful story. It is. And I'm so, sometimes, and I'm realizing even as I'm reading your statement right now, Maya, right? Like I'm literally learning in real time more about myself in front of you guys. But I'm so sometimes tunnel vision and focused on the tangible, what I feel to be tangible things that I can create, whether it's a book, whether it's songs, because I'm thinking, okay, my children can listen to this song when I'm, and their children and children can listen to those things, listen to, right, my lives and things that I believe in. And so because they're so tangible, physical, I'm realizing as I'm reading my statement when she says it's a beautiful story, right? Sometimes I'm forgetting the memories, right? The fact that I have had that experience and now that memory is etched in my heart, and I can, right, express that and explain that story to so many people. That is also, right, creating something, a moment in time, a memory that is solidified, all that also outlives me, and right, if he didn't do that, I couldn't come to that realization right now here. On this live, right? So that's what I mean, right? As far as like loving, God more than you love your partner and seeking God on how to best love them, because as much as we think, and I think, it's so inflated now, when you're listening to like people talk about relationships, everybody just feels like, I know what I want, I know what I bring to the table, and so therefore I want this person to, bring this and that to the table. And everything is like, everybody feels like they just know it all, they just know it all. And unfortunately, when you approach things like that, then it's like, man, well, truthfully, it's true. You really don't, because anyone who's been in a long-term relationship or in a marriage and you're going into becoming a parent. Oh my goodness, so many things that we have to adapt to and change, new systems that we have to adapt, all the way that we use the principles that we know sometimes, right? All changes. So even if you feel like so much now, best believe that's going to change. And I don't look at it as a negative thing. Again, what we were talking about in our last show, where growth is the process, where it's an invitation to lose yourself in a relationship. It actually is a requirement to have a healthy relationship where it is demonstrating the fact that two individuals came together and their combination creates something greater. That would mean you have to lose yourself voluntarily, right? And rediscover in depth a different version, right? A deeper version. It's like digging for gold. It's not like you're losing yourself, like you're erasing your identity, or you're becoming codependent on someone. That's negative, losing yourself. We're talking about the fact that when you have to combine two things, that is just a necessary part, right? So yeah, so that's something that we all need to do, in relationships for the relationship to grow. Okay. So that's my first two. And I'm going to give you guys one more. I'm going to save the other two, because again, one of my main words for this year was simplicity. So I'm not going to keep y'all on here long, and we'll just make it go over to the other the next episode. So the next one that I want to bring up is accountability. Someone you can have the privilege to love and marry and be with is someone who is willing to be accountable. And man, is it easier said than done, especially if the things that you have to be accountable for are things that have been not only affected you, but maybe have affected other people's lives or affected, you greatly, maybe in not the most optimal way. So, that's hard, right? Nobody wants to be wrong. Nobody wants to be wrong, I mean, a lot of us don't like, especially as women, okay? I will out us. I'll out myself, you know? Being right feels nice, you know? So a lot of people don't want to be accountable, but if you can find someone who will say, one, I can account for what I'm able to do. That's what I start with, accountability. When I tell my clients, account for what you're able to do or account for what you have done, right? Is an accountable person. I'm not going to shirk my responsibility by not accounting for what I can do. And I'm not going to shirk my responsibility by not owning up or admitting what I have done and assessing it and seeing if I need to change certain things, right, to improve it and to better myself and better the way that I engage with the people that I say that I love, right? Accountability, someone who can be, if you're a person who can be accountable in this season, I'm telling you, you'll stand out. You will be so attractive. Especially, definitely if you're a woman listening to this, because a lot of the men that I speak to feel like women, are not accountable oftentimes, and that they feel like they have to kind of like trap them in the corner to kind of like say, yes, I was wrong, or yes, I could have did this different and things like that. So if you're looking for certain relationship skills to cultivate, that'll kind of make you, be seen out of the sea, of other potential partners. Accountability is definitely one of them. So those are the three that I want to introduce to you to guys tonight. And then we are going to talk about the other two next episode because we're going to keep it simple. All right. But I appreciate all of you guys who are on with me. So let's go down the three that I gave you just to summarize everything. 5 characteristics of a person who you would have the privilege to marry. 1, someone who loves God more than they love you and seeks God's counsel of how to best love you. Number 2, someone who cares about your well-being, detached from their desire of how they wish for you to show up in their life. So your well-being, you fulfilling God's purpose, right, is a number one priority for them. In your life, right? They care about your friendship that they have with you and being a component to help facilitate, right? You fulfilling that here, right? And lastly, accountability. It's necessary. All of us need to account for what we're able to do, and we need to account for what we have done already. So that's it, guys. I'm gonna keep y'all. I'm happy. I'm doing a little dance because I didn't keep y'all on here long, so I appreciate it. Thank you. You're welcome, Maya Babaya. Thank you for all your wonderful feedback, for making me laugh as you always do. I so appreciate you. You're a gift to me for that. And I appreciate everybody else who came on with me. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night, winding down. And God willing, I'll be on with you guys next time, and we will continue this conversation and wrap up. So hopefully you guys will let it marinate and think about some other, characteristics that you can think of someone who you would have the privilege to marry. All right. Love you guys. Have a good night. And remember to subscribe to my Forever Friends Academy YouTube channel. Definitely spread the content if you feel like this content is good and, people would like to and grow from hearing it. And yeah, that's about it. Always remember to live to love freely. Until next time. Bye.